maybe 10 seconds.
Let me know when you want me to start, Richard.
Okay. Okay, can you start the webinar, Lily?
Okay, I'll start webinar now.
I'm sorry, actually.
You're okay.
Okay, you're ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
You're on live. 5, 4, 3.
Greetings and welcome. Good afternoon and welcome to the Social Emotional Learning Conditions of Thriving webinar. As we get settled and members join, please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Write your name, your title, and the organization you represent. And please share one word or phrase that captures the power of belonging, cultivating communities where everyone flourishes. We will get started at 2:03 p.m. Okay, thank you very much and welcome back. I want to first preface it as I was reviewing the notes. The webinar that we're doing today and focusing on is the power of belonging, cultivating communities where everyone flourishes. So welcome. My name is Carrie Sequeira, and I am the administrator of the Office of School-Based Health Programs under the Whole Child Division. I'm very happy to see so many LEAs present today to learn best practices and resources for supporting our students' social and emotional well-being, which is important for learning and thriving. In supporting our students, we are supporting the whole school community. Our objectives for today is fostering a sense of belonging across the school day, explore strategies and practices that foster an inclusive school climate where students and adults feel valued, seen, and heard. Co-creating thriving learning conditions. Share actionable approaches for educators and school leaders to partner with students in designing learning environments that promote engagement, well-being, and academic success. Leveraging data to inform and transform practices. demonstrate how schools and districts can use data such as student voice surveys, behavioral trends, and climate assessments to guide decision-making and continuously improve school culture. Inspiring collective wisdom and action. Cultivate a mindset of shared leadership and community-driven change by providing tools, real-world examples, and resources that empower educators to take meaningful steps in creating inclusive, supportive school environments. I would like to take a moment to thank our State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond, for his leadership and vision of seeing the need to develop a division based on the whole child. Finally, I see you, and I'm so thankful to share space with each one of you today to prioritize the need to belong. It's a human need that we all possess, not just for our students, but for our entire school community. Remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative. My ask of you is to be that one caring adult. I have the pleasure of introducing a coworker, Sarah Eaton, AGPA, and Pam Cahookam, SAGC, who start our content. Sarah Eaton is our Associate Government Program Analyst. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts in English from California State University, Sacramento. Go Stingers. Her passion for educating and youth advocacy drives her work and informs her approach to policy and program development. Sarah's committed to making a positive impact in her field and continues to work towards advancing the well-being of children through her professional endeavors. Pam Cahookam is our school health education consultant whose focus is on social emotional learning and mental health initiatives. She is our school counselor, our PPS, and has over 23 years of experience implementing and coordinating student support services to support the physical, mental, and social emotional health of our students in the Sacramento City Unified School District. Remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative. Sarah, do you want to come join me up here?
Thank you, Carrie. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to explore the importance of welcoming inclusions, a practice that fosters a sense of belonging. Whether we're working with students or adults, creating an environment where everyone feels welcomed, valued, and included is foundational to a thriving school community. It's about more than just physical presence. It's about actively creating spaces where all voices are heard, respected, and part of the conversation. This is how we cultivate a true sense of belonging. Next slide, please. So why do we emphasize welcoming inclusions as essential practices of belonging in education? Let's explore how inclusion benefits both our students and the adults and why it plays such a critical role in educational settings. The answer is clear. By creating environments where everyone feels truly included, we foster better outcomes across all areas of learning, collaboration, and relationship building. When we practice welcoming inclusion, we are one, building confidence and engagement. For our students, inclusion is about feeling safe, supported, and most importantly, seen. When students are welcomed into the classroom or school community, they're more likely to engage, share their thoughts, and participate in learning. This helps build their confidence, encourages active participation, and fosters a positive emotional connection to their education. 2, promoting collaboration and professional growth. For adults in the educational system, teachers, administrators, counselors, school nurses, and psychologists, welcoming inclusion fosters a culture of collaboration and respect. When educators and staff feel included and valued, they are more likely to collaborate effectively, share ideas, and contribute to the collective success of the school. Creating an inclusive environment also allows us to model positive behaviors for our students, teaching them the importance of empathy, respect, and cooperation. 3, creating a safe and supportive environment for everyone. Welcoming inclusion fosters emotional safety for both students and adults. The sense of safety is essential for effective learning, personal growth, and behavioral health. When students and staff feel safe, they are more open to taking risks, exploring new ideas, and addressing challenges together. This is especially important in today's educational environments, where behavioral health and social emotional learning are central to student success. Number 4, fostering a culture of belonging across the school community. Welcoming inclusion isn't just a practice for the classroom. It should be woven throughout the entire school environment. From how we how we engage with colleagues in meetings to how we interact with students in the hallways. Fostering a culture of belonging strengthens the entire school community. This inclusivity also extends to creating spaces for parents and community members. When everyone from students to staff to families feel a sense of belonging, it creates a stronger, more connected school environment. Next slide, please. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about your experiences as an educator, school professional, or even a student. When have you felt truly included in an educational environment? What made you feel welcomed, respected, and that you truly belonged? Now, I'd like to invite you to engage with this prompt. Tell me something good. What's one moment in your career or life when you felt that a practice of inclusion made a difference, either for you or for a student you were working with? As we reflect on these experiences, let's think about how we can also apply these welcoming practices in our own spaces, whether we're working with youth or engaging with adults. How can we ensure everyone feels like they truly belong? We'll now take a few minutes to open the chat and hear from those who feel comfortable sharing. While you share your thoughts, I'll continue speaking, and I encourage you to take your time to reflect and write. Remember, inclusion is about listening to each other, sharing experiences, and connecting as we create better environments together. Inclusion isn't about one-time efforts. It's about continually creating and refining spaces where every voice is heard. It's a process that evolves as our students and educators grow. It's about checking in, adapting, and listening to the needs of everyone involved. It's the small actions we take to make others feel seen and heard, the way we encourage collaboration, and the efforts we make to create safety and respect. We all have a role in this, and when we commit to these practices, we're not only improving our school environments, we're shaping a better future. Together we are stronger, and together we belong. As we've discussed, creating a culture of belonging isn't just about welcoming people into our spaces. It's about making sure they feel seen, valued, and supported as they grow and thrive. The practice extends beyond physical environments to our emotional and social landscapes, especially as we focus on supporting the whole child. This brings us to social emotional learning, SEL, and transformational SEL. These frameworks provide a powerful foundation for building the relationships and sense of belonging we've talked about today. To dive deeper into these concepts, I'm pleased to turn it over to Pam, who will share an overview of SEL, highlight the work of our CDE work groups, and explain how transformational SEL competencies can help us create environments where everyone can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for that welcoming inclusion. And building safe spaces is essential for fostering relationships and cultivating a culture of belonging where everyone flourishes. And to achieve this, we can elevate our transformative social and emotional learning competencies and conditions for thriving. Next slide. SEL has long provided a foundation for helping students develop critical skills in self-awareness, self-management, relationship building, decision-making, and social awareness. But transformative SEL takes this further by integrating an inclusive and healing-centered approach, ensuring that learning environments actively honor identity, agency, curiosity, collaborative problem-solving, and belonging. The self-awareness helps students understand their emotions, strengths, and areas for growth. Transformative SEL, this expands into identity, helping students develop a strong sense of who they are, where they come from, and how their experiences shape them. For example, instead of reflecting on their emotions, students engage in activities that explore cultural identity, personal values, and lived experiences. A classroom exercise could involve storytelling circles where students share aspects of their background in ways that builds community and mutual understanding. Self-management focuses on regulating emotions and behaviors. Well, this aligns with agency and empowering students to take ownership of their learning, voice their perspectives, and advocate for themselves and others. So instead of just teaching students to use self-regulation strategies, educators co-create classroom norms with them, allowing students to make choices about how they learn best and giving them decision-making power and structuring their learning experiences. Responsible decision-making traditionally focuses on making ethical and thoughtful choices. TSCL broadens this to curiosity, encouraging students to ask critical questions, challenge injustices, and seek deeper understanding. So a history lesson can move beyond just learning facts to exploring multiple perspectives, analyzing whose voices are centered and whose are missing, and encouraging students to question and research systemic issues in their communities. And relationship skills. Well, they help students navigate interactions with others. TSCL extends this to collaborative problem solving, encouraging students to work together to address challenges, resolve conflicts, and build collective solutions. So instead of individual conflict resolution strategies, students practice restorative justice circles where they engage in active listening and work together to repair harm in ways that builds trust and strengthens the community. And social awareness teaches empathy and respect for diverse perspectives. TSCL deepens this into belonging, ensuring that all students feel seen, valued, and connected to their learning environment. Schools can redesign spaces and policies to ensure all students feel safe and welcome, from representation in curriculum to creating designated spaces for groups where students with shared identities can connect. These competencies are essential for success in school and life, reinforcing the importance of positive relationships and emotional connections in the learning process. Transformative SEL fosters educational environments that are welcoming, safe, inclusive, and empowering for all students, staff, and families. This approach helps build systems of belonging, ensuring that both young people and adults co-create thriving schools and contribute to safe, healthy, and just communities. Next slide. The California Department of Education, in collaboration with SEL experts, has identified key competency indicators and conditions for thriving that are essential for meaningful learning experiences. All adults working across the educational system are encouraged to implement these practices to successfully co-create transformative SEL learning conditions for thriving. Here are some examples. A couple of competency indicators are co-creating engaging and inclusive classrooms and learning communities, and ensuring identity, agency, and belonging through cultural humility and mutual respect. And the conditions for thriving show that sites have evidence that their environment supports students across all settings. There are systems for encouraging voice and choice in decision-making. Safe spaces are known, seen, and used on campus, and we are regularly assessing areas for collective growth. Next slide. And here in this slide are more examples. So you can co-create school-wide and classroom norms to foster a sense of ownership, engage in reflective practices to build awareness, use restorative practices to support healing-centered problem solving, encourage daily self-care practices for well-being. Leaders play a crucial role in modeling environments where staff feel seen, secured, valued, and empowered. By co-creating learning communities that reflect diverse voices, ensure safe spaces, and assess growth needs, educators can then establish similar environments in their classrooms. By integrating TSCL competencies and conditions for learning, we become better equipped to navigate challenges, strengthen relationships, and foster true belonging. I'll post CD's webpage on TSCL conditions for thriving in the chat. This resources offers valuable content for all educators seeking to co-create these TSCL environments where every student can thrive. Next slide. Now I'd like to introduce, and it is my honor to introduce, Vern Hazard, who has a passion for life, service, and relationships. He has over 30 years of experience in education, advertising, and coaching, with the last 24 spent serving and empowering school administrators, superintendents, and board members through his role at Capturing Kids' Hearts. Vern's greatest desire is to impact students by equipping educators to create a safe and loving learning environment. He graduated from Olivet College in Michigan, where he received the Walter V. Sprandl Award for Outstanding Achievement in Athletics, Academics, and Leadership. He taught team leadership, now Lead Worthy, and coached varsity football and baseball at Deer Park High School, located just outside of Southeast Houston, Texas. Working alongside a great team, including his daughter, Alexandria, Vern considers it a joy and honor to serve educators nationally. Remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative. Please join us, Vern.
Thank you so much, Pam, Carrie, Sarah, and the entire team. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and a happy Thursday. And the one thing that we do in Capturing Kids' Hearts and all the trainings that we do is we do good things. So what I want you to do, personally or professionally, in the chat, just tell me something good. We're not going to process them. I just want you to start thinking in a positive light. Tell me something good in your life. It could be personal or professional. Mine, I'm just going to share. My daughter is 27, and she is my joy and my why, and she's getting married in October. So that is my good thing. So if you would, put some wonderful good things in there. And I want you to start to understand is that positive thought is a great leadership skill. And you heard a little bit about me, growing up in Michigan, and Michiganders do this. I grew up in Kalamazoo. But there's two things that I live by every moment of my life is carpe diem, seize the day. Not one of us in this room is guaranteed tomorrow, but I always challenge people, how are we truly serving people? And what we like to say in Capturing Kids' Hearts is that leadership is not about you. It's not a personal agenda, it's about serving. And when we truly serve, we empower. And when we empower, we create multipliers for the next generation. And that's what I love about Capturing Kids' Hearts so much. I really believe that being sincere and genuine, kids know it that in 15 seconds, but also the adults. And I say this all the time is that you can't transfer what you don't possess. Flippin, who founded the company of Capturing Kids' Hearts 32 years ago, he believes that we have to have a child's heart before their head. And if we do that, we do get their head. It's that relationship piece, the importance of that. And if you go to the next slide, please. That's my daughter, real quickly. Again, her name is Alexandria, and she does work for us, and we get to do keynotes together, but also she's all over the country doing conferences and so on, but just so proud of her. And there's a couple things that we don't say enough in this world, and I really want you to think about this. We don't say enough is that I love you and I'm proud of you. Kids want to be seen, they want to be loved. It doesn't matter if it's high school or pre-K, but also administrators on here, the importance of a principal knowing their staff. And if we don't create safety and trust, we don't have the journey. And that's part of CKH in the process, but also have an understanding of don't let it be in a random act of change, but truly live it to where it becomes transformational. When it becomes transformational, that's when we change culture. Kids see it, they belong, all those things, but also the staff. Everyone has a story. If you go to the next page for me, please. As I said, I grew up in Michigan with 6 brothers and sisters. And when I look at those pictures, one is of myself with a red sweater. I was in kindergarten. And the one on the right, I was 10. And the one on the right, my life changed. My mother invited her friend into our home, and she had an affair with my dad, and my dad left when I was 10, and my mother became an alcoholic. I really didn't have a mom or dad after that, but there were teachers in my life, and there was a coach in my life that said, do not let your mom and dad's problems dictate your outcome. I believe in you. It was that one person. I cannot thank him enough, but it was Mrs. Parker, my English teacher, it was Mrs. Meiser, my next door neighbor, and my best friend Dave and his mom, and she became my second mom. The importance of building those relationships with kids, I can't stress enough. They saved my life. I can't express that enough. And if we go to the next slide for me, please. Reframing is taking a negative situation and changing the perspective so you can work with it or get busy living, as I say. My sister was a straight A student, and when my father left, she blamed herself, dropped out of school in 10th grade, married at 18. The guy beat her and broke her nose, and she died at 41 of cirrhosis of the liver. So what I'm saying is someone touched my heart, gave me hope where my sister didn't have that. She made choices. But I remember at the end of her life, I said, why would you stay with this guy? And she said, I didn't think anybody else would love me. The importance of empowering our students and our staff. I used to say to my students all the time, love yourself enough to say no. Empower them, help them believe in themselves. So whatever comes their way, they have the ability to overcome. And just a couple more things, thoughts, attitude, and actions. We control those every moments of our life. And I can't express enough, again, just the people in my life that help save my life and guide me. And then with Capturing Kids' Hearts, I did not want to go to the training. I was a high school teacher and coach, teaching high school theater, coaching varsity baseball and football. It changed my life not only as a teacher and a coach, but I think it made me a great father. And it allowed me to forgive my mom and dad, but also it allowed me to break the chain. If you go to the next slide for me, please. These are just some outcomes of what we do with National Showcase Schools. Angela Ortiz is going to speak after me just about the process. She's an amazing educator, leader, a mother, unbelievable what she does. And she kind of will build a bridge on what we do. Trying to think if there's anything else, but the bottom line, real quickly, you can't transfer what you don't possess. Remember, whatever position you're in, your goal is their success. Always remember that. And then be courageous. And remember, brokenness is a gift. It's what you do with the gift. Next slide, please. And she'll go over these data. Again, we've been around for 31 years, social, emotional, trauma, mental health, all those things. And next slide, please. That is my information. And again, Angela is going to talk about the process of Capturing Kids' Hearts. And again, I can't thank you enough, Carrie and the team, for allowing us the opportunity to speak. I hope you heard my heart and the importance of what we do that for our kids and giving them hope. Angela, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I wish everyone an amazing day and finish strong in all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vern. That was an incredible presentation on Capturing Kids' Hearts. And just as Vern said, to continue with Capturing Kids' Hearts, I have the honor of introducing our next speaker, Angela Ortiz. Angela has dedicated 23 years to the Hawthorne School District, an organization that has been integral to her life since childhood, having attended K through 8 within the same district. Angela started her career as a middle school math and science teacher with her love of building relationships that support students in achieving their personal best began. Over time, Angela expanded her role, working as an English learner specialist, assistant principal, and dean of students, continually growing her expertise. Now in her second year as the district behavior support coach, Angela focuses on fostering a positive school climate and culture. She is deeply inspired by the dedication and collaboration of the educators and staff she works with, empowering them to make a difference in students' lives. Outside of work, Angela supports her son Anthony at his Little League games and cherishes her role as his biggest cheerleader. Remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and Carrie and the entire team. It is such an honor to be here today to share our experiences in implementing Capturing Kids' Hearts in the Hawthorne School District. My experience with Capturing Kids' Hearts began about 13 years ago when I had the pleasure of attending a Capturing Kids' Hearts training facilitated by the gentleman we just heard from, Mr. Vern Hazard, a good friend of mine. And from that moment in that training 13 years ago, my life was literally changed. I have one of those people that you saw that percentage on that last slide of the 96% that said they plan to immediately implement. I absolutely did, and I have since then. And it's made me a better person. It's made me a better mom. It's made me better both professionally and personally, which is why I was so very excited when my district decided to offer Capturing Kids' Hearts as an optional PD to all of our teachers in our district. As the district behavior support coach, I get to go and support our teachers, our teachers in our classrooms and our deans of students in the implementation of our Capturing Kids' Hearts process as it supports our Tier 1 PBIS and MTSS systems. If we could please go to the next slide. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to make sure that you can understand by just hearing Vern speak how deeply rooted we are in building those communication skills and making those connections with our students. What we don't need is one more thing to do. And so oftentimes the early implementation stages, I would get asked the question of, so are we doing Capturing Kids' Hearts or are we doing PBIS? Are we doing Capturing Kids' Hearts or are we doing MTSS? And the answer was yes, we are doing all of that. And it can seem overwhelming until you actually look at the process of Capturing Kids' Hearts as not an end, but a with. It is processes and tools and skills that we use with our implementation of our Tier 1 systems of PBIS and MTSS. It provides us, our district was implementing PBIS for several years, and we, in all honesty, we're facing some challenges. We face challenges with consistency. We face challenges with student buy-in, and Capturing Kids' Hearts provided our staff with some of those foundational relationship building skills that were needed in order to have a strong Tier 1 system of PBIS and MTSS. Capturing Kids' Hearts supports our PBIS. Like I said, it works along with it. It provides specific tools that our educators can use as far as their classroom discipline, and ultimately making sure that the relationships come first. In my work with students who struggle to make positive behavior choices, sometimes the first answer that we get and the first thing they go to as to, why are you not in class? Why are you here? My teacher hates me. Capturing Kids' Hearts allows our teachers to build those relationships so that our students' perspective is, I am valued and I am wanted in this class. When my behavior is interfering with my learning, when my choices are not good, then I will be held accountable for that. But in the end, I, as a person, am always welcome to join our class and repair the relationships and return to the learning. In our MTSS implementation, the resources in Capturing Kids' Hearts have certainly provided us tools in order to ensure our students' social emotional well-being. In the place where we would once see timeout corners, or where we would see timeout tables, we're now seeing peace centers. We're seeing calming corners, because we're understanding that our students' story, what they come to us with, it matters. It matters, and it has a big impact on what they do in our classrooms. It's hard to make good choices when you're feeling bad. It's hard to engage in a lesson and provide academic content when I'm thinking about the fact that I haven't eaten since yesterday at lunch. It provides our teachers the tools to understand that the student's story and the why and what they come with is part of them, and we welcome that. And knowing that helps us to ensure that we are providing and putting in place the appropriate supports and interventions needed. Next slide, please. Like I said, it provides specific tools for building and maintaining relationships. I think in my experience, every time I ask an educator, why did you become a teacher? The answers we hear are because I love students, because I love working with kids, because I want to make a difference in a kid's life. And I believe those are absolutely true statements that people believe. What I also believe is true is that we make the assumption sometimes that just because someone is a teacher or someone has gone into education, that they automatically possess the tools and the skills for building and maintaining positive relationship with students. And that can be a false assumption. They are skills that are acquired for those of us who don't have them naturally. And they are things that we are able to practice so that we can build that connection when we have a struggling student. Some of the tools that we are using to focus on from Capturing Kids' Hearts district-wide are engagement, right? Ensuring that it is so easy for our students in today's day and age to not be engaged with the world around them. We see students walking in, especially into our middle schools or our high schools with hoods up, AirPods in, or engaged on whatever's on the screen, but not in the people around them. So we want to ensure that every student is receiving a personal greeting, a personal engagement with a caring adult from the moment they walk onto campus. In addition to walking on a campus, from the moment they walk into the classroom, and we have students who get to choose how they want to have that greeting happen. But it ensures that every student, no student leaves our campus without hearing their name, without having some type of connection, meaningful connection with an important adult on campus. Vern talked about good things, and we actually started our webinar with good things. We know that in a world full of negativity, our students don't always come to us with good things first on their mind. And so it is very important that we're using this tool of good things to increase the positive thought and as a leadership skill for our students. It also is a guiding tool so that our teachers can learn about our students. When do I learn what the why is? How do I learn what's important, what's good to my students, what's going on? So it allows our teachers to explore our students and learn more about their story. And on top of that, it allows our students to learn about each other. It's one thing that we want to have a strong relationship between our teachers and our students, but we see through our Capturing Kids' Hearts processes that building those relationships from student to student ensures that we are having a classroom and a school culture that everyone feels like they are a part and they belong. One major tool that we're using with that is our social contracts. I talked about how we use Capturing Kids' Hearts with PBIS, and this is a great example of how they work seamlessly together. Our school-wide behavior expectations, we call that the what. Those are the behaviors that we have decided a student has to be able to exhibit in order to be successful at our school. The social contract allows for every team, and that's not just student classroom teams. We're talking about every district team, every site level team, every team that works together takes the first steps to build that social contract where every member of that team has a voice in how we will treat each other. And that's a very important tool because the social contract brings it back to our heart and how we are going to treat each other so that everyone feels safe and belonging in their environment so that we can exhibit the behavioral expectations to meet those school-wide expectations across campuses. Next slide, please. Perhaps the biggest impact that I have seen since our implementation of Capturing Kids' Hearts across our campuses is the intentionality of our teachers in providing opportunities for positive affirmations. We're not just taking the time for positive affirmations for our students and themselves, but helping our students to take the time to learn how to share and to recognize and to share greatness, not only within ourselves, but within our peers and within our teams that we belong to. There are so many times that we have a challenge and a teacher, the world looks different, right? The world looks different from when we grew up in it. And so sometimes it's hard to make those connections with our students. And sometimes we've seen that the teachers that struggle the most with making those connections struggle the most with some behavior issues. When we're talking about building and fostering belonging and building a positive culture, these affirmations are a key to understanding I am wanted in this classroom, I belong. There is more that keeps us connected. There is more that we have in common than keeps us divided and separated. And the time for these affirmations is very important. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you and tell you that these tools and these activities and these affirmations, I have had teachers come to me and say, you know what, Angela, that sounds great and that sounds wonderful, but I just don't have the time to do it, right? I don't have the time to do good things. I don't have the time in my class to call out these affirmations. I don't have the time to refer to the social contract because I need my time to do my math lesson. I need my time to teach math. I need my time to teach language arts. I need my time for my academic content that I have to teach. And this is where having those positive relationships, not just student-teacher, not just student-student, but teacher-teacher, and with our adults, and exhibiting the process from the top down has become really important because it allows us to have those difficult conversations sometimes with our colleagues. And I bring it back to, we don't teach math and we don't teach language arts. We teach children. We teach children first and foremost, and teaching behavior, teaching social emotional learning skills, teaching how to listen to each other, how to treat one another with respect, how to call out when we don't feel like we're being treated with respect. These are all the first teachings that we need in the classroom so that we can create an environment where students feel safe. They feel safe to share their ideas. They feel safe to take those risks. And that's when the learning and the academic content becomes more meaningful and students are more engaged in their learning. In a time in our world where there's so much so much emphasis put onto test scores and put onto the scores that our students are receiving on tests, it's important to also remember that test scores do not improve behavior and positive climate and a culture of belonging. Positive behavior, a positive climate, and a culture of belonging improves test scores. If we can please go to the next slide. Okay, so I know I wanted to keep a slide in here because it's very important. You may be hearing out there, you know, it sounds good and it looks nice, but is it working, Angela? And I have to tell you, in our early stages of implementation, we have several data points that are pointing to yes, it is. Two data points in particular that I wanted to share with you were one of discipline. Our office discipline referrals in comparison just from last year at this point to from this year at this point to last year, we've seen a 23% decrease in the average number of office disciplinary referrals that we receive per month. And this is district-wide. In my district, there are 7 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 1 charter high school. And to see that decrease in the amount of students that are being sent out of class shows those connections that are keeping the kids in class, keeping those relationships strong, and keeping them learning. Another data point that we're working hard is as far as attendance. This year, we are seeing that our chronic absenteeism is down about 4%, and our year-to-date attendance district-wide is up 1%. Now, we attribute this to a lot of things working in conjunction together, but definitely our emphasis on creating a positive culture, a place where students feel like they are valued, that they are seen, that they are heard, that they are wanted, and that they belong, is a place that students want to be. And we want our classrooms and our campuses to be somewhere that our students and our staff want to be, so that we can continue to encourage and support our students in thriving in their education. Next slide, please. So I know that data and numbers are great, and everybody loves a good graph and some good hard data to look at, but I have to be honest with you and tell you that the most meaningful data that I have seen and I have experienced since we've been implementing Capturing Kids' Hearts on our campuses is the feel and the look of what it looks like on campus, what it feels like to walk onto a campus where students are accustomed to greeting each other, saying hello, how are you, welcome. Walking into classrooms where on the doors, everyone is told that everyone fits in here, no matter what our differences are, no matter what our story is. We're glad you're here. We want you here and you belong. When I see bulletin boards that are not just dedicated to academic success, but also personal, social, emotional success, bulletin boards where teachers are taking the time to individually call out each student and something great about them that makes that teacher thankful to be in that class, makes that classroom somewhere the teacher wants to be. To see all around it, the students sharing shout outs, a student getting to walk home at the end of the day with a stack of affirmations, not just from adults, but from their peers. We are definitely seeing the output that we are getting from the input of these relationship building skills that we are putting into place. Knowing that we are part of a district, that we are ensuring that every student that walks onto our campus will be greeted by a caring adult. Every student that walks into our campus will have the opportunity in that day to share good things about themselves and to learn about their peers and about their teachers and good things happening for them, and how to share in the joy and the excitement for others. To know that we are creating learning environments that are safe, that students feel welcome, that they will be able to share their ideas and their thoughts without the fear of being laughed at, without the fear of being ridiculed, but rather with the confidence in knowing that they will be positively affirmed, they will be supported, not just by the adults in the room, but by the students around them. It really does, to me, bring home all the data that I need. It fills my heart with so much joy, more than any graph ever could. I am truly honored, and I'm truly excited for the direction that we are going. We are just in our early stages of implementation, but we know that these practices of building these relationships and ensuring that our students are seen and valued and heard is what they deserve. It's what every student deserves. And I am glad that my district has joined in the Capturing Kids' Hearts mission of winning our students' hearts so that we can lead them to be their personal best in an environment where both students and staff feel valued, feel seen, feel heard, and feel wanted for the person that they are. I want to thank you, everybody, for your time today to share the experiences that we are having in our district. And most importantly, I want to thank everybody for sharing this space and for what you do for our students and our staff every day to make their lives better.
Angela, your testament of the systemic practices are so powerful. I can feel the heart in your presentation. Thank you for the impacts you've made. Next, I'd like to, and it is my honor to introduce Hetty Chang, who is the founder and executive director of Attendance Works, a nonprofit that promotes student success by addressing chronic absence and opportunity gaps. A skilled presenter, facilitator, researcher, and writer, she co-authored the semi-annual report, Present, Engaged, and Accounted For, and numerous other articles on attendance. With over 3 decades of experience in family support education and child development, Hetty has held roles such as Senior Program Officer at the Evelyn and Walter Haas Jr. Fund and co-director of California Tomorrow. She holds a master's degree in public policy from Harvard's Kennedy School and a BA from Occidental College. In 2024, she was named Policy Leader of the Year by the National Association of the State Boards of Education. Remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative. Welcome, Hetty.
Thank you so much, Pam. What a pleasure to be here and an honor to follow Vern and Angela and the powerful stories that they showed. So I'm going to talk about how investing in relationships and belonging, which you really just had 2 amazing stories or illustrations of how this works, can actually help us get at this challenge of reducing chronic absence. So let's go to the next slide for a second. I want to start by just making sure we're clear on definitions. We think a lot about average attendance, average daily attendance here in California, partly because that's one of the basis for funding in most school districts. But know that average daily attendance is just looking at aggregate attendance. Might tell you certain days that kids don't show up, but it doesn't always help you notice which are the kids who are missing so much school they might be academically at risk. We also look at truancy, but that's only looking at unexcused absences. Tends to have this notion of kids better show up to school or else. There's a little bit of a compliance mode in it, and it tends to say if you don't start to show up to school, we're going to escalate and intensify a response, and eventually we may take you to court. And this is true across the country, though in California, there are some ways we actually aren't using court as a solution. Chronic absence is really missing 10% or more of all school days for any reason, excused, unexcused, and suspensions. And it's really key because it's trying to help people notice when kids are missing school and acknowledge that then they're missing out on the benefits of being there, social, emotional, as well as academic benefits. And it's about emphasizing a problem-solving, trauma-sensitive approach, because we know that when kids miss a lot of school, it often can mean they've actually had adverse child experiences. And this means the key to improving attendance is family engagement and student engagement, which is why what Angela just shared happening in her district is such an important strategy. Can we go to the next slide? So I want to just say this matters because when kids show up to school, for individual kids, this helps make sure they're reading at 3rd grade, doing okay in middle school, graduating from high school. It's not just academics, but it's also your executive functioning, your social emotional development. Next slide. And when large groups of kids, when multiple kids are missing school, everyone is affected because it makes it harder for teachers to teach and create engaging classroom environments. And when you have lots of kids missing a lot of school, it can actually affect the attendance behavior of their peers. Next slide. And what we saw during the pandemic is that chronic absence more than doubled in California. And it's starting to come down, which is good, but it shows that we still have a long ways to go. And part of that is because this process of re-engaging, connecting, making sure kids feel a sense of belonging actually takes time. Next slide. We also know that chronic absence can vary by grade level. And one of the challenges that we've seen is the really high levels of chronic absence in TKK, as well as we see high levels in 9th through 12th. But if we don't address the issues and challenges facing our youngest learners, we're going to face a lot more challenges later. Next slide. And we know that chronic absence and its impact is sometimes greater for certain populations, particularly populations that may have not felt as connected, are more marginalized from the student, from positive student experiences in our schools for a whole variety of reasons, or who face significant economic challenges and are in communities that were hardest hit by the pandemic. And in fact, even though we're several years out, the recovery is still slow. Next slide. So one of the things we saw is that, so when had that slide about how high levels of chronic absence are a challenge because it affects not just the kid who's chronically absent, but all the other kids in a classroom. And we saw that during the pandemic, we went from less than 1/5 of our schools, or about 1/5 of our schools, having that high, 20% or more levels of chronic absence to over 75%. And we're still have over half our schools with 20% or more of their kids chronically absent. Next slide. And in the schools where 3/4 of the kids are economically challenged, socioeconomically disadvantaged, you're still seeing almost 72% of all those schools having high or extreme chronic absence. This is why our recovery is so disparate, with kids in higher poverty schools recovering at a much slower rate than our more affluent schools. Next slide. So what we know is that the key to improving attendance is building relationships and addressing the underlying causes that result in kids not showing up to school in the first place. Is it barriers? So in our economically challenged communities, a lot of times some of these barriers are still very much present. They faced trauma because a family member died. They have poor transportation, food or housing insecurity, lack of access to healthcare. Is it aversion because when they missed school, they didn't have those chances to catch up, and so now they're feeling anxious about being in the school, or maybe they're experiencing bullying, and that's pushing out of school. Is it around disengagement because they haven't had those chances to form those positive relationships with either peers or with adults? Or is it misconceptions where families think, well, I think we have two kinds of misconceptions. Some of the misconception is, oh, I can just make up for learning online. When online learning, even if you could turn the homework back in on a digital platform, isn't the same as the kind of engagement and learning you get when you're in a classroom. Or unfortunately, we still face challenges where families don't have exactly clarity about when they should kids should be home when they're sick or when they should show up to school. And if kids have stomach aches, people might mistakenly think, oh, I need to keep my kid home, when that could be a sign of anxiety, which if unaddressed can actually continue to then make kids not feel connected to school and actually be less likely to show up. So we actually need to help folks really understand the opportunities that kids get when they come to school, and how a routine of going back to school every day is so crucial for our kids' health and well-being. Next slide. When we see high levels of chronic absence, we found that it can really reflect that there's been an erosion in these positive conditions for learning, which are kids and families show up when kids feel physically, emotionally healthy and safe. And when they don't, then that's when you see absences happening. Kids and families show up when they feel a sense of belonging, connection, and support, academic challenge and engagement, adult student well-being, and emotional competence. And this is why, so relationships are at the heart of all this. And this is why when you invest in relationship building, you actually start to address all four of these quadrants and make it possible for kids to show back up to school. Next slide. So those positive conditions for learning, those are at the base of a pyramid. We have to invest in those for all of the other tiers to work. Messaging kids, you were missed school and we want you back in school. Reaching out to kids for a start because they had missed 10% or more school, or even engaging in a more intensive intervention in case management. We have to have the positive condition of learning so that kids think when we say we really need you to be back in school, they want to be back in school. And we need to build in relationship building to every tier, because when kids feel that connection to an adult and to their peers, it makes them both want to show up to school. And when they have that connection to an adult, they're more likely to tell an adult what's happening and why they're missing, so that then they can get connected to resources and supports that address those barriers. Next slide. So we have issued a challenge to states across the country, to communities across the country, that we need to reduce our chronic absence levels by 50% from our pre-pandemic highs. It's so crucial because we need that to give all our kids a chance to learn. We have also offered up this roadmap that starts by having a team. You can't do this alone. You need a team. You need to look at your data to figure out which schools, which kids, which grades need the most supports. And then you got to think about what are, given the assets, the challenges in my community, are the priority routes we need to adopt. Is it family engagement, student connectedness, relevant engaging learning, health, well-being, and safety, or making sure you have access to learning, transportation, digital access? And then when you have those routes in place, you can share that map and get everyone engaged in supporting this in your community, build that capacity and partnership, and then you can use data to see whether it's working. I think Angela's presentation showed what they're doing is starting to work. And you know the great news about attendance is you collect that data every day. So you can get ongoing feedback. Am I creating a more engaging relationship building environment where kids want to show up? Are they showing up more? And if they're not, what do we need to learn from them about how we need to improve our environment? And if you go to the next slide, this is all about student connectedness. as this is one of our priority routes, but it's something that all of our schools can really think about doing. How can we make sure that kids feel that sense of student connectedness? And that means that they believe there's an adult at the school who cares about them. They have a supportive peer group. They're engaged in something pro-social. They feel seen, heard, and welcomed at school. And here in California, where we have more resources than almost you have nationwide invested in expanded learning, this is something that schools and community partners can do and create that sense of connection. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hedy, for your insightful presentation on reducing chronic absence by investing in relationships and belonging and honing in on student connectedness. I will now introduce our next speaker, Dr. Maisie Lee. Maisie Lee is a social emotional learning director at the Sacramento County Office of Education. She is a veteran educator who has served the Sacramento region in various capacities, including teacher, counselor, school administrator, and district administrator, along with her work leading district-wide SEL in Sacramento City Unified School District. Maisie was a contributing leader for the Collaborating Districts Initiative and California Collaborating State Initiative with the Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning, as well as Advanced SEL in California campaign and California's Transformative SEL Skills and Conditions Work Group. Remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative. Welcome, Maisie.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for having me here today. As you're going through my bio, I realize, wow, I'm an OG here. So I hope most folks know what I mean when I say I'm an OG in this world. But I'm thrilled and excited to come here and talk about this work that we are attempting to do across our state. In terms of how we co-construct and grow, we call our SEL garden in California together. I was looking at, and I love reading chats because folks have really lovely things to say. And I was reading a chat earlier and someone wrote, "It's a we thing." And so the work that we're trying to do across California is exactly that. This is a we thing, and we are going to co-construct this together in the work that we're trying to lead for us, by us, with us. Next slide, please. So in this idea of a we thing, I'm just going to use that line because I love it. I saw it and I thought, yes, that's it. In humanizing this space that we call education, we have been really generously gifted some grants in partnership with the Department of Healthcare Services in forming a really unique partnership between healthcare and education to support our communities to thrive socially and emotionally. So we are grateful for our partners at the Department of Healthcare Services. Next slide, please. And this slide also gives you an idea of some other partners that we are engaging with, again, in this idea of co-constructing towards thriving. And so as you can see here, there are some cross-sector partners stemming from our healthcare partners to our university partners at UC Berkeley School of not School of Ed, excuse me, UC Berkeley School of Social Welfare, as well as our partners at the Greater Good Science Center, and certainly the Center for Implementation, who supports us with the implementation science and really supporting our county leaders to understand and put into practice some of these amazing resources. And again, we are so fortunate because we get to work with all 58 county offices of education across the state in direct partnership with 56, providing supports across the state. Next slide, please. And I just want to say, I'm just going to touch upon this. I'm not going to go through each of these timestamps here, but the current work, the CalHope student support work that we're leading builds upon existing collectivist efforts in our state. And I have been fortunate to be a part of some of these work groups. And so the work lives and has been thriving in California. The current work builds upon that and gets at a little bit more systemness in trying to bring on all of our statewide leaders through our county partners. And this approach we're calling a community of practice, and really providing supports and resources to our county leaders so that they can then in turn provide resources and supports to their regional hubs and educators and LEAs. Next slide, please. So in our current CalHope student support work, our aim and our vision is to build sustainable SEL systems and infrastructures and supports to enable all of our young people as well as our adults. And I emphasize in our adults because our adults, including all of us, I would imagine in this room, we all need support. We all need a sense of belonging. We all need a sense of connection. We all need to feel like we are cared for. And so really this idea that we are engaging in this co-construction is that we're all in this together, and that the adults, including I would say our leaders, need this work in order to thrive as well. Next slide, please. And so the approach that we take in implementing CalHope student support in our state is through this idea of systemic and transformative SEL. And I heard Hetty mention earlier about the importance of relationships, and what Hetty said really resonated for me around this idea of high levels of absence reflects an erosion in positive conditions. And coincidentally, we are really looking at this through this idea of the ecosystem and how are we shifting the conditions so that we can support all of our young people and our adults to thrive. So when we think about conditions, we think about the right climate, calibrate it with the right levers to transform the system. And I'll go through today each part of these right levers a little bit more deeper and provide some exemplars for what that looks like, as well as what Pam mentioned earlier around the SEL core competencies and focal constructs. This calibrated idea around how are we cultivating not only a sense of self-awareness, but also focusing on a sense of identity. As we think about the DNA of California and what we want to nurture and foster, and really thinking around this idea of inclusivity, diversity, and belonging. And it's really interesting because I'm reminded of this quote around what it means to be invited to a party, that diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance at the party, and belonging is getting to contribute to the song list at the party. And so part of this work that we're trying to engage in is how do we deepen that sense of belonging for everyone so that everyone has a chance to contribute to the song list at the party. Next slide, please. So what this work looks like as we think about this, the levers for systemic transformation is around and really critically grounded and undergirded by cross-sector partnerships and through a community of practice approach. So this gives you an idea of the work and the calibrated and the continuous feedback cycle that the state team calibrates with in terms of building capacity with our 56 county offices of education, in providing them turnkey resources to turn around and support the implementation of social emotional learning in their regional hubs so that their schools and their district leaders are also able to turn around some turnkey resources and support and augment and bolster the resource supports for their students, their staff, and families in this continuous loop, in this continuous cycle of partnership. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an idea of some of the numbers that this project has impacted. Again, we support, and when I say we support, we provide resources to all 58 counties, but we are in direct partnership with 56 counties. Just as a reiteration, our counties did not have to participate in this project. They opted in to participate in the project. So 56 out of 58 counties are involved in our statewide community of practice. We're working with those 56 counties, 350 plus focal sites that they engage directly with and provide supports for. And what that means is that's over 8,000 plus educators at these focal sites, 350 plus students at these focal sites. And we are really excited to share that we have close to 2,000 educators enrolled in our deeply contextualized SEL Foundations course at UC Berkeley. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but this just gives you some insights into some of the numbers. Next slide, please. Through the community of practice, we provide, again, turnkey resources and tools for our county partners who leverage those tools and resources to support their regional hubs. We also have community practices with our youth leaders in direct partnership with our California Friday Night Live folks. The other resource that we offer is the annual SEL and Wellness Summit, and we will drop a registration link in the chat soon when we get there. Pam, thank you for dropping that in. But this really provides an opportunity across the state for all of our SEL champions to come together and to convene and to connect and to experience for themselves the power of connection and belonging and well-being. And then the third big supportive tools and resources that we provide is the CalHope survey. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the components there, as well as the Calvin data platform that for the last 2 years has been provided for free for any participating school that wants to get a pulse check for how their students and their adults were doing around social emotional well-being. Next slide, please. Again, this just gives you some insights into our first inaugural summit, which was last year. I just want to say that our upcoming summit is May 15th and 16th. And I can tell you this is not a convention, a conference. This is a summit. And we call it a summit because in a summit, we are on this journey together. Back to that idea of co-construction. We are walking alongside each other and we are summiting together. So we hope that you will be able to join us. I must say that we are getting close to selling out. We are very, very close. So if you're interested, I would click on that link today. Next slide, please. Again, as I shared previously, we have continuous improvement tools that are made available and for free for our participating schools. Actually, I should say for any school in the state of California through our partnership with UC Berkeley and our partnership with Calvin Education. We have been able to develop a tool that is very short, so it's 21 items that gets at these particular dimensions around emotional experiences, resources for coping, and positive school climate. Again, what's really unique about this particular survey that's been customized for our project is that it gets at culturally and linguistic responsive practices, which in my 15 plus years of doing this work, we have not seen. So it's really exciting to have. Next slide, please. All right. And again, these are just additional more resources that I'm happy to share at the conclusion of my speech here. I'll put some links in the chat. But in our partnership with Greater Good Science Center, there are free SEL learning modules for educators, family facilitators, support staff. We also have these specialized communities of practice. We actually have one coming up very soon for family and community facilitators, those who interface directly with families. And then finally, we have this amazing 3-unit graduate level course that's been co-constructed with UC Berkeley, and it's being offered through UC Berkeley. And so folks who take the course get 3 units from a transcript from UC Berkeley. This has been an incredible journey for a lot of our educators. And if you click on the next slide, You'll see actually this number has been upgraded. As of today, we have close to 2,000 participants from well over 900 schools within California, 456 districts across all 55 counties. So this is really, really exciting. Next slide, please. And I just want to say that in terms of structures and routines of SEL implementation, one of the things that we're very clear about in our journey is that we're always calibrating equity pulse checks. Who's involved? Who is connected to the work? Who has a voice? Who has a sense of agency in the work, whether it's at the state level and the county level and or schools and districts. And so these are some of the steps and some of the considerations that our partners at the Center for Implementation has been supporting us with in terms of the science of implementation and ensuring that we are always including our families as partners, our students, our colleagues. Next slide, please. The other wonderful part of this project is that we're calibrating research with practice. And so the mutual reciprocal partnership between UC Berkeley and SCOE has been that we co-construct surveys. We look at data together and we are writing research briefs together. And this has been a huge game changer in terms of informing both the field of social emotional learning as well as the practice of improvement. Next slide, please. Go, next slide. So we've learned a lot, and what we've learned is that we need everyone and all the essential elements of our ecosystem in order to thrive together. And this slide just gives you an idea of all the different elements and essential elements of the ecosystem that is important and needed, the inputs in order to have successful outputs. Next slide, please. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so I just want to bring in some impact points around partnerships. Next slide. We've learned that our county leaders who report the greatest diversity of partnerships around supports, capacities, and routines of implementation actually are doing better and doing well, and that diversity and partnership does matter in this work. Next slide. Go ahead and go to the next slide. In terms of supports, our county partners, our school partners are utilizing a variety of tools and resources. And I think I heard a speaker say, we have a plethora of resources and supports. The question is, how are we using them and using them in a way that's going to transform our systems? And we find that our schools and our district and our county partners are using a variety of these tools and resources that are available to them. Next slide, please. Next slide. And in terms of capacity, I just want to say that for our folks who've gone through the SEL Foundations course, our teachers, our support staff, that we are seeing significant improvements in attitudes, in skills, in self-efficacy, in knowledge, and most importantly, in mindsets, in the way that folks are approaching teaching and learning with a whole different lens and a whole different paradigm for what it means to teach human beings versus content. Next slide, please. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Go ahead and click through it. Yeah. Again, we're also seeing increases in the way that folks are thinking about equity orientation in this work and really thinking and embracing and integrating equity into all of the work that they're doing in terms of systems and routines. Next slide. I wanted to get to the slide because I knew I was running out of time, and because we've talked about chronic absenteeism and the value and importance of relationships and grounding in foundational relationships. We have some preliminary data that we've been looking at around our Title I CalHOPE focal sites when compared to similar non-CalHOPE sites, and what we have found is really compelling. And what that is looking like is that our CalHOPE Title I focal sites are actually trending down in chronic absenteeism over the course of the last several years. So that's really, really exciting, and I wanted to share that here today. Next slide. We can go to the next slide. This is just a bragging about our paper. Next steps. We know that we need to be thinking about adaptations and sustainability in terms of how do we maintain the statewide network, as well as supporting our practitioners and you all in integrating this work into academics. Because at the end of the day, our children come to school to learn. And so how are we also supporting our adults in the buildings, in the classrooms, to integrate this so that this becomes a way of being and a way of teaching, and the DNA of the classroom, the DNA of the school, the DNA of the district, and the DNA of our counties and state. Because as we look into 25 and 26, we know we have these new revisions to the CSTPs that are coming, and our teachers, our brand new baby teachers, are going to be expected to integrate SEL and culturally responsive practices into their pedagogy. And so how do we support them? And so going forward, this work will be very, very important in that work. And then just finally, how are we fortifying cross-sector partnerships to expand beyond our current partnerships so that we as a collective are working to ensure that SEL is a must-have and not a nice-to-have. And with that, I am done. Next slide. This just gives you our website. Please visit our website. There's more information there. And certainly there is our email. You can email us, and usually I'm the one that's responding to that email account. So be more than happy to engage with you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mycie. We truly appreciate you. Next, I'm honored to introduce Anita Ward. She has been described as an organizational shaman, a cultural interpreter, and a catalyst for transformational change. As Chief Growth Officer, Anita is leading market expansion for Care Solace, a social purpose mental health organization that provides access to care in 937 communities for 21 million individuals. A pioneer in culture, transformation, and technology, Anita is an accomplished speaker and writer. She was presented the Rosa Parks Courage Award by civil rights leader Doris Crenshaw, and her work has been featured in Katzenbach's books, Real Change Leaders, and Leading Outside the Lines, as well as in Fast Company, Forbes SAP, CIO Magazine, Information Week, and Computer World. Welcome to Please join us, Anita.
Thank you, Pam. Hi, everybody. I have to tell you, even just listening to my bio, I am way out of my league in this incredible audience and participants. I am not an educator. My doctorate's cultural anthropology. But I am so grateful that you're including me and including Care Solace, because I think these conversations are critical. This is an incredible group of leaders, and I hope that in the spirit of belonging, I can contribute at least to the song list at this party. As Pam said, I am the Chief Growth Officer for Care Solace, and what we do is we connect students, families, and staff to care, to trusted relationships, to social services, to providers, and we support approximately 40% of the California school districts and schools, and 15% of districts across the country, as well as municipalities. And what we do for them is create these connections and solidify relationships within communities. So whether it's a mental health day or a safe space or journaling time, we believe that foundational to helping students and staff and families is equitable and inclusive access to care and services. And that's what we do. But if you'll indulge me in this spirit of belonging and what's been happening in this incredible afternoon, is I'm going to start with a story. My family was chronically unhoused. Before I was 15 years old, we lived in 22 different places. We changed locations, always in search of the future. I went to different schools multiple times each year. We couch surfed, we floor surfed, we lived in cheap weekly motels and churches and shelters and cars. And my dad was a veteran who struggled with alcohol abuse, and my mom, first generation, she was in and out of hospitals with severe depression and anxiety. And as the oldest child, I was often left with the responsibility of my brother and two sisters as my parents disappeared. So when you think about it, the food, the housing, the mental health securities, those just defined my childhood, but nobody knew. My brother, my sisters, and I, we found our way to school and were silent about our situations. It was not something to be shared. It was not something that we ever talked about. And at the beginning of my junior year in high school, my dad piled us all in a U-Haul and we moved from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Las Vegas. And we stopped at a rest stop in Vegas because it had bathrooms. And we lived in that U-Haul. Still went to school, still carried on our daily activities. But I will tell you that despite the sort of temporary nature that you may think about in terms of living in a U-Haul, it was actually the first time I felt any sense of permanence or belonging. And it was really at 15 that I experienced belonging. I only knew what it meant not to belong and not to have a community and not to have a tribe. But for me, I found belonging at McDonald's with a job. Belonging came from the connections I made with that work tribe. It came from the self-respect I gained. It came from a place of empathy and love. And Hetty, thank you so much, because as you shared, it came from relationships and routine. And I share the story with you. I didn't plan on doing this until all of you inspired me, but I share this with you because in so many ways, my story is the reflection of the stories that many of you, many of the children and families you know, still struggle with. Maybe even some of you on this call are living like I lived, because not a single teacher, counselor, administrator in any of those 22 schools recognized the instability, the underlying instability of our lives, because we hid it so well. So the one lesson I'm going to share with you, whether you listen to anything else I have to say, the lesson I learned today is really simple. The thing that contributes most to belonging is feeling valued. So any strategies you have, any interventions you dream, all of the wonderful things we've heard today, anything you do to increase connectedness must be intentional, must be authentic, and must be focused on value. Because I know that my story is a couple decades old. You can do the math, you can see the gray hair setting in, but I also realized that the way the world has changed, gosh, it's escalated in ways we never anticipated. So let me demonstrate that. Can we go to slide 2, please? And I promise I'll stay on track, Italian timing. Surgeon General Murthy issued in 2024 an advisory, a health advisory, that we're experiencing an epidemic of loneliness. And for me, the first time I thought about it, I thought, oh my God, change has been crazy. We live with technologies that have changed us. We live with technologies on how we talk to each other, or as, you know, my now 28-year-old son at the time didn't talk to each other. We use technology as the intervention. And while it's really easy to blame it on COVID, look at that chart that Surgeon General Murthy put in place. This happened before the COVID pandemic. Social connections and belonging were declining even before 2020. 1 in 2 youth, 1 in 4 adults, they report being lonely. And as a cultural anthropologist, I know that belonging is fundamental to human need. We search for connection. I am so excited when I heard there were 459 people on this call, because now I have 459 new connections to make. We have this biological need for a connection. And what happens is loneliness impacts us. It impacts my physical health. It impacts my mental health. And thus it's going to impact when we think about students or academic performance. And sadly, guess where our state is? California is the 10th loneliest state in the country. In fact, to the point that San Mateo, I believe, issued, I think it was San Mateo County, those of you who are on here from San Mateo, issued an advisory and said, we're going to address loneliness in San Mateo County. It was the first county in the country to do so. And I will tell you that you can feel lonely even with a lot of people around you, because loneliness is about the quality of your connections. So all 459 of you, watch out, because Anita Ward's going to be talking to you. Let's look at the next slide, right? I love data. I'm a geek at my core. You saw that stuff she talked about with my technology background. The part that scares me the most, having one of these as a son, you know, Generation Z and Alpha, they're the loneliest the world has seen. Some of it is correlated with high social media. 43% of this population says they're online almost constantly. Young girls, by the way, are particularly sensitive to this. You'll see in our data, and anybody reach out to me or my colleague Janine Fear on this call will share all kinds of data with you. But what we're seeing significant increases are in the self-harm tendencies of young women ages 11 to 14 who can't live up to the social standards that are imprinted on them in this, virtual world. So it's a lonely world. But let's think about that. Gen Z, that's not just the kids. These are our baby teachers. These are our baby counselors. This is the ecosystem that we're working within. And if you look at the next slide, the data is alarming. Of those populations, 91% are often sad and depressed. This one kills me. 22% have considered suicide. That's almost 1 in 4, and 18% made a plan, and 10% attempted it. My heart wrenches when I hear this. And our LGBTQIA plus population, 45%. That vulnerability, that ache, that heartache for where they are today and not feeling of belonging and feeling excluded is incredible. We need to step up. Look at slide 5. Let's see. And I'll talk really fast. I promise, Carrie, I will get through this. Where do we go? If you're in a school, where are you going? And I don't know how many social workers or counselors are on this call, but they're definitely going. My family, me as a parent, went to counselors. When does a counselor have time to make 80 phone calls to help me find a mental health provider for my child that speaks Spanish, that specializes in pediatric care and takes Kaiser? People give up. If you go to the next slide, that's where Care Solace kind of fits in. We are in, as I said, all of these school districts in California. And what we do is we provide tools and content and community and equitable access to providers. So we're connecting people to care and using technology and innovation to get them there. Let's go to slide 7 because I really want to get to the other pieces. So essentially what we're doing in support of belonging for students and families is providing a technology platform where they can access it. They can go in and look at our providers. We have 700,000 mental health providers, all geolocated, and we know their specialty, and they're all vetted all around the country. California, we have 108,000 of them. But most importantly, if you look at those 4 purple blocks, the most important piece on there is the care coordination and the care companions. We all need, maybe not all, we all need, in my opinion, trusted Sherpas to hold our hands and take us on our mental health journey. Someone who can help me with everything from finding a care provider to supporting insurance to looking at, how do I do this? Is this the right person? How do I get past this? All of those obstacles to care and barriers to connection and belonging, fundamental to that is my mental health. It's either contributing to it or it's an impact of being lonely. Let's look at the next slide. This is, we can probably skip this, but basically we take a warm handoff from a school or we take a warm handoff from a community and we provide technology. And then we go out and we find all the matches and we close the loop back, which gives me all this robust data for those 21 million that we have. The next slide is, we believe one of the fundamental pieces, and ask me for this, please join our community. We believe community is core to belonging. So we have the Care Solace community. In that, it's a virtual community where all voices are heard, all ideas are shared, inclusion is at the forefront of it. It's a community that really provides this sense of belonging to everybody. And we do that through sharing. We share stories. It's a safe place for questions, a source for mental health resources. And that's whether that's content or tools or videos or a mental health provider. And in this community, we have this really cool, I think, amazing recognition program that shows the value of individuals who are helping with care. We call it a Care Hero program, something that you can embrace in your districts or something that you can use of ours as well, be included in what we're doing. But there's a Care Hero program is this inclusive program where we recognize people who support the students, who support the families. They're the heroes for our students and communities. They're helping with all of those things that we saw at the beginning of this. They're doing the welcoming. They're there for the student. And the Care Hero program, it's peer recognition. It's a Care Solace recognition program. It's acknowledging and highlighting the fact that individuals with empathy and care and compassion are there and supporting. So please reach out. We're happy. We'd love to have you take advantage of that. And there's no charge to that. I mean, this is all resources that you can use and things you can be involved with from the community side, because that's where I think is critical and core to belonging. On the next slide, you'll see we've also curated content for parents, because where do you go? Where do you go? You Google search? Where do you go? You've got you've got a daughter, 11 years old, who's cutting herself. Where do you go? Who do you call? I mean, do you go to your pediatrician? What happens? And if this is a first time, you are, as a parent, are at a loss. So we've not only have we created this community and created access that we can get people into care, but we've also curated content for parents. And some of this is really specific for substance abuse, because we're seeing substance abuse on the rise in middle school, by the way. Although I guess I'm sort of singing to the choir here. You see it every day. But we use videos with heroes, and we couple those with discussion guides so that those can spark those safe conversations. You can download that content. You can use that content. You could bake it into your curriculum or your day, or just your safe space conversations. We also work very closely and have our own youth advisory councils. So we work closely with the districts and schools' youth advisory councils. Most importantly, we listen to their voices. And there's lots of videos that we can share you with young people saying what it means to encourage belonging, what they need, what are they looking for in mental health. We'll make all of that available to you and share all those tools with you also, because they're using our tools also to get through. Let's go to the next slide. We have webinars with lots of different topics, webinars like this. We have monthly webinars. We'll create a custom webinar for you. All of this at no charge. Just give us a call. We'll work with us. We have mental health clinicians on staff as well, and we can put something together for you. But also, in support of this entire ecosystem, we know that many of you need CEU credits. So we offer free CEU courses so you can get your credits. We do those monthly as well, in support of, licensed professionals here in California, so we can support their needs too. Let's look at the next slide. Storytelling, it's just, we think, the most effective tool. It harkens back, I guess, to the theme that we have seen here all together throughout this whole last hour. Storytelling really is a way to advance your sense of belonging. So we put together a forum and a format for sharing stories. It's a mechanism that we use to support the values in the school, the values in the community. And I'm happy to share all of those stories and all of the links to those stories. I encourage you, it took me a long time to share my own story. And even today, I was hesitant, because I think about what is the environment within which you share that. But I encourage you to find your own vulnerability and your own authenticity. And it's with that these young people will trust you. Your story has to come from an honest place in order for that trust to grow. Let's look at the next slide. I promised Kara I'd be on time. I am a data freak. This is just one very quick snapshot of the kind of data that we can generate for you. We leverage data to find all the areas in need, and I have data for 23 million people. This one is just a snapshot. I can look at clinical needs by age. I can trend that over time. I can look at that by zip code. I can look at that by ethnicity. We can drill down on this data, and you might be surprised, maybe not be surprised. But adolescents, 12 to 17, look at that suicidal ideation number. Look at the trauma and stress in the adult population of both our baby teachers as well as maybe some of our early parents. So you can look at this data, and it will help you target where your programs need to go. So if you want a data report of the clinical needs and trends in your community, reach out to us. can look at this data in any number of ways, and I'm happy to share it with you because I think we should all open source our data. We're not going to make change unless we collaborate. And then on our last slide, what I would say to you is, thinking back on my own story, the most vulnerable kids and families need you the most. More than half of the people that we help are low income, more than half are in the vulnerable population groups. And like me, when I lived in Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut, and Florida, and all those places, they've learned to hide their needs. But I will tell you the truth, I remain vulnerable. That baggage from my early days is always there. It's always challenging my feelings of belonging, often manifesting in this horrible struggle with imposter syndrome and fear of connections. And so as our frontline community, safeguarding our next generation, I encourage you, go find the Anitas now. Go find the kids living in the U-Hauls. Become their care heroes. And then with empathy, let's all together, the we piece of this, let's all address this crisis of belonging and this epidemic of loneliness. And here at Care Solace, we're here for you. So anything we can do, any resources you need, any data you need, any tools, anything, please reach out to me because I'd like to change the world. So thank you for having us, and all of you other presenters, thank you for letting me be part of this. I am truly honored that you included me. Thank you so much. And I think there's links in the chat.
Thank you very much, Anita. And thank you all to the presenters who not only came here today, but really met with us and thoughtfully planned the webinars to try to make sure we're meeting the diverse needs within our state of California. And thank you for each one of you for attending. You made that choice to come and share space with us. And we hope that you all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.